Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the greatest boxer tournament in Title Bout II. Before we jump into this video, I want to mention a couple of things. First of all, this is going to be the last video for this month's Ask Me Anything questions. So if you have any questions you want me to answer for this month's Ask Me Anything segment during the end of October recap, make sure you get them into an AMA tag. I also would like to welcome all of the new subscribers to the channel. Thank you for giving my channel your support. If you're interested in winning a new game, the 400th video on the channel will detail a giveaway where you could win a copy of Mag 23 Guadalcanal from Historic Wings, along with the historical logbook that goes with that game. Details will be in the video for that. I'm not going to link it publicly. The fall campaign is over in Lost Carcosa last week, but we're not quite done there yet. The boxing ring's all set up in Lost Carcosa, so now we're going to let the twin sons of Holly illuminate our last quarterfinal bout in the tournament. So we'll take a look at our current brackets. We're just about done with the semifinals. We've got Vitaly Klitschko getting ready to take on Rocky Balboa in the quarterfinals. We'll see how Balboa's broken hand comes into play. And Rocky Marciano is waiting for an opponent, which brings us to today's bout. So, with that, let's go through today's bout. The John Cena action figure will be representing Lennox Lewis today. We'll take a look at his card. 9 and either. When he's fresh, he takes control on a 10 against both a boxer and a slugger. Aggressiveness of 8, killer instinct of 9, 90 endurance, foul rating B, defense rating 2, KD 1 and 2 of 1-2, knockout rating 2, cut 3, and counterpunch range 5. So now we need to get him a cornerman, which brings me to the cornerman deck, and I'll bring the second deck in shot. So we'll give this a shuffle. And a cut, and here will be our first attempt at getting Lennox Lewis a cornerman. Robert Garcia Cortez, who does average with cuts and swelling. Boxer rating, he'll take anybody, and he's available on a 1 to 50. So we're going to get a random number from the second deck, and we'll find. At a 6, Robert Garcia Cortez is very much available, so he'll be in Lennox Lewis's corner. That's it for going through Lennox Lewis. Now let's meet his opponent. The Roman Reigns action figure is going to be representing Lewis's opponent, if I can ever get a nail under the card, Sonny Liston. Also a 9 and either, which will come into play later. Takes control against a 9, with a 9 against a boxer or an 11 against a slugger. Aggressiveness of 8, killer instinct 10, endurance 85, foul rating C, defense 2, KD 1 and 2 at 1-1, knockout 2, cut 2, and counterpunch 5. Now we need to get Liston a cornerman, so his cornerman will be, well, with his first try, will be Joe Gallagher, who also does average with cuts, and is available on a 1 to 60, so we'll get a random number here as well. Come on, this does not want to focus today. There we are. 43, Joe Gallagher is available. Normally we don't have that much of an adventure trying to get cornermen. Hopefully we won't have much difficulty getting a referee for today's bout, but let's head over to the ring now and finish setting up the bout. We have 2 orders of business we need to see to before the fight's ready to begin. First up is going to be getting a referee. So similar to the cornermen, I've got the referee cards here. We'll give these a shuffle. And a cut. And this will be our first attempt at a referee. So first referee we'll try to recruit is Wayne Kelly, who's available on a 1 to 50. So let's see what we find here. We'll get another random number from the deck. So on a 1 to 50, he's available. 63, he's not available. So next referee we'll try for Joey Curtis, also available on a 1 to 50. 72, he's not available either. Looks like our adventure is going to be finding a referee for today's bout. Next try is for Vic Draculic, who's available on a 1 to 60. Let's see what we find here. A 14, Vic Draculic's available, so he'll be our referee for today's bout. We'll take a look at his card. Foul is on a strict, stoppage normal, consistency 1 to 80, boxer rate 8, which I believe means boxer ratings 8 and up are who he can take on, and availability, as we just saw earlier. So I'm going to make some notes here just to make sure we're all set to go. Vic Draculic. I probably just butchered that. He checks on, strict checks on the third point deduction. Actually, yeah, so third point deduction. Okay, which means those two other referees can go back in the deck. I'll shuffle this up off camera real quick. The rest of the referees can actually return to the box now that now that I've got my referee for today's bout. I'm going to put the rest of the referees back in the box. And then our other order of business, now that we actually have our referee, is we need to determine our aggressor. So because both of our fighters have the same aggressiveness at 8, the tiebreaker for that is then the overall rating, but they're both 9s. So we're going to get random numbers for each one of them, and whoever's higher will be our aggressor to start the bout. So Lewis's random number is a 12, which means Liston will probably be our aggressor. At a 53, yeah, Liston will be our aggressor to start the bout. So I'll give the second deck a quick shuffle. Oop. Come on. Okay. All right, now that that's all set up, we're ready to start this bout. So when we come back, Liston will be our aggressor to start round 1. They're both either's as well, so they can use either strategy. Lewis is going to box to make it easier, to make it harder for Liston to take control. Liston's going to slug because it doesn't matter for him in terms of Lewis's control factor. But Liston's our aggressor, so there's the bell. Let's start round 1. Liston will start us off with control, so he'll get the first action check right off the bat. 12 is going to miss a power shot, but he will land a punch. Liston will get on the board with. A 30 is good for a 2-point hook, so Liston's on the board right away. Up to 2 points. Back to Liston we go, who stays in control. Foul, he's a C against a 71. That's going to be a deduction already. C against a 71. Actually, no, just barely not. But Liston's going to get a stern warning for hitting on the break. So I'm just making some notes off camera. And that's Liston's first warning right off the bat. We come back to Liston for the control check. He stays in control. 80 is going to be ring movement, so we are moving nowhere. We're staying at ring center. Back to Liston we go, who loses control. Lewis gets his first control check of the bout. He can't take control. Back to Liston. No control, Lewis. No control, Liston. No control, Lewis. Finally takes control. So Lewis gets his first action. 23 is going to land a punch, and he will land. 29 will be good for a 2-point hook of his own. So just like that, round is even up at 2. Back to Lewis we go. Who loses control? Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. 44 is a missed punch. Liston can try to counterpunch. 66 won't do it, though. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Foul. Lewis's turn for a foul. He's a B against a 21. I'm certain that'll get waved off. Back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 5 is going to land our first power shot of the bout. Liston is a 1 against a 13. 13-1 will be 5 points to Lewis. Lewis very much welcomes that power shot. His corner is not exactly jumping for joy at that, but they are happy. Lewis loses control. Liston still feeling that power shot a little bit, but he takes control. 32 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 62 is good for a 3-point combination. So after getting rocked, Liston comes right back and draws back within 2. Back to Liston we go, who loses control. Lewis takes control back. 46 will clinch. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 19 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 1 point partially blocked. That'll bring Lewis up to 8 points. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 11 is going to miss a power shot, but he will land a punch, and he will land. 54 is good for a 3-point combination of his own, so that will bring Lewis up to 11 points on the round. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes control. Foul. Oh boy. He's still a C against a 9. That should get waved off. Yep, that'll get waved off. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 22 is going to land a punch, and the last card of the round. 70 will be good for a 3-point uppercut, but more importantly, once I get this scored, 3-point uppercut, that's the end of round 1. So Lewis picked up 14 points to, I believe, 5 for Liston. And on a 9-point differential, high score wins 10-9. So Lewis takes the round. So that'll be a win on the round for Lewis. Let's see, 14 from 85 is 71, and wait a minute. Yeah, 85. Okay, I'll get the decks reshuffled, and when we come back, Lewis will be our aggressor to start round 2. The only change from round 1 will be in our aggressor. Lewis is going to box, Liston's going to slug. Lewis will be our aggressor, and let's start round 2. So Lewis will start us off this time with control. 45 is going to clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 6 will land a power shot of his own. Lewis is a 1 against an 18. 18-1. 5 points to Liston, and he gets his full killer instinct. So 5 points to Liston, and we get his full killer instinct of 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, first up for Liston. 43 is going to miss a punch. Lewis can try to counterpunch. A 10 will land a punch, so Lewis will land. 4 will be good for a 3-point jab. We're still in Liston's killer instinct, though. It needs to be a 5-point. It needs to be at least a 5-point shot for killer instinct to end. So we're back to Lewis, or back to Liston, I should say. 60 will be ring movement, so we are moving. So we're staying at ring center. Next up for Liston, 53 is a clinch. 70 is ring movement, so we're moving to the left neutral corner. Next up for Liston, 67, we're moving again. We're moving right back to ring center. So Liston not able to do anything with that killer instinct. He's got it, his corner's not happy. Back to Liston we go, though, who loses control. Lewis takes it. Foul. Lewis is a B against... Oh, wait, we should be +5 on these foul checks. 70, that's just going to be 78, so now Lewis is going to lose points. Let's see, 78 on a B. He's going to lose -1 point for hitting on the break. Alright, so -1 on break. Alright, so that means Liston should have lost points. Yeah, Liston would have lost points earlier in the bout. Right? Yes, he would have lost a point for using elbows. So I'm going to make a quick change there. Which means Liston should have had... Okay, right. So Liston should have only had 4 points, which means that would have been 86 for Lewis. Okay, now that I've got all that sorted out, we're back to the fight. So Lewis just lost points, but he's still in control. 15 is going to land a punch, and he will land. A 6 will be good for... It would be a 3-point jab, but I'm going to give him 2 points now because he's going to lose a point during the round anyway. So I'm going to shortcut that and give him only 2 points now. Which will bring us back to Lewis, who stays in control. Another foul. We got to remember now that the referee's a +5, so Lewis is a B against 47, which is a 52. Which a B against a 52. Cautions to keep it above the waist. I'm only going to note warnings and actual point deductions. But back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 75 is going to be ring movement, so we are moving. We're staying at ring center, actually. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Lands a power shot. Liston's a 1 against An 8, that should be 8-1 will be another 4 points to Lewis, which will bring Lewis up to 9 points on the round. Back to Lewis we go, who loses control. Liston takes control. Foul. Oh boy, this could be dangerous for Liston. He's a C against. A 64 plus 5 is 69, which is a warning for punching with the elbow. So this is actually Liston's first warning now that I modified, so that's... So the first warning that he took was actually a full point deduction. So this is Liston's corrected first warning, essentially. But we're back to Liston, who stays in control. 14 is going to land a punch. He will land. 40 cut. 40 is good for a 3-point cross. And then we have to make a cut check for Lewis. Lewis as adding 3 to this next random number. 63 plus 3 is 66, which will be a pretty significant cut, I think. $66. Here we are. Lewis has a major cut under the right eye. Right, under the right eye, so Lewis is a +1 cut and 3 cut points. Okay, got all that noted. Back to Liston we go, who stays in control since Lewis is boxing. 2 is going to land another power shot. Lewis is a 1 against a 12. 12-1 will be another 5 points to Liston, which will bring him up to 13 points on the round. Liston's power may be starting to come out to play a little bit. Back to Liston we go, who loses control. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. Lands a power shot. Liston's a 1 against a 2. That should be 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Lewis, which means the round is even in points at 13 apiece. Back to Lewis we go, who loses control. Liston takes control. 12 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. A 22 will be good for a 3-point hook, which is just in time because Liston's last control check would be... He would have control, but that's the end of round 2. 13 points for Lewis, 16 for Liston. He needed that. Let's see, that's going to be 58. And 16 is going to be 69, I think, yeah. Oh no, 70, I think. Yeah, 70. Because I forgot we were scoring it. I forgot we had to take a point away from Liston. By a 3-point differential, we need to see how the judges see it. On the score, on paper, it's a win by 3 for Liston, but the judges are going to score it high, so they're giving the round to Liston. All right, just getting everything ready. I'll get the decks prepared, and then we'll come back to round 3, where Liston will be our aggressor. Before we start round 3, Robert Garcia Cortez is going to work on Lewis's cut under his right eye, so we're going to get a random number for that. That's going to be a 0, so no work done on it. The only change from round 2 is our aggressor once again. Lewis is going to box, Liston's going to slug, and there's the bell. Liston's our aggressor to start round 3, so he will start us off with control. 28 is going to land a punch, and Liston will get on the board with 54 is good for a 2-point cross. Lewis landing the first shot of the round. Liston landing the first shot of the round. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Crowd in Lost Carcosa is getting restless. Liston takes control. 71 is ring movement, so we are moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. 22 is going to land a punch. Lewis will get on the board for the round. 1 point partially blocked, so that'll bring Lewis up to 1 point. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. Lands a power shot. Lewis is a 1 against a 1. I would be stunned if that's not. Yep, that's 4 points. So 4 points to Liston. Crowd's been enjoying a thrilling bout so far in round 3. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 23 is going to land another punch. Liston will land. 1 point partially blocked of his own, so that'll bring Liston up to 7 points on the round. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. Foul. Lewis is a B against an 11, which turns into a 16, and still is enough to get. It still has plenty to get waved off. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 48 is going to clinch. Back to Lewis. Who stays in control. 76 is ring movement, so we are moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 11 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 43 will be good for a 3-point cross, which will bring Lewis some much needed points this round. Up to 4 points. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 54 is a clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 46 is a missed punch. Lewis can try to counterpunch. A 65 won't do it. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 21 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 1 point partially blocked, which will bring Lewis up to 5 points. Then back to Lewis we go, who loses control. Liston would not get control, but that's the end of round 3. A pretty even round coming out of that. So 5 for Lewis, 7 for Liston, 32, 53. I'm just doing math off camera. All right, and a 2-point differential, a very close, a very tight round, so we need to see how the judges score it. The judges are scoring it. Even high, so they're giving the round to Liston. Setting everything up here. When we come back, Liston will be our aggressor to start round 4. Usually, so far this bout, we've mostly been playing musical aggressors, but we're not this time. There's exactly no change from round 3 to now. Liston's our aggressor, and there's the bell. Let's start round 4. So Liston will start us off with control. 40 is a missed punch, no counterpunch. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis can't take it. Liston, no control. Lewis still has that cut he's dealing with. No control. Liston, no control. Lewis, no control. Liston takes control. Foul. Uh-oh. He's a C against a 52, which turns into a 57. Admonishes both fighters to keep it clean. Back to Liston, who takes control. Who stays in control, I should say. 39 is going to miss a punch, no counterpunch. Back to Liston, takes control, who stays in control. 70 is ring movement, so we're moving. Staying in ring center. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 24 is going to land a punch finally. Liston's sure been pressing this round. He's going to get on the board with an 11, which is good for a 2-point jab. And we're probably about, I'd say we're close to halfway through the round at this point. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 53 is going to clinch. Back to Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 51 is going to clinch. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 77 is ring movement, so we are moving. So nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. It's going to land a power shot. Liston's a 1 against a 6. That's probably 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Lewis. So Lewis takes the lead in the round with that power shot. Got Liston's attention. Back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 57 is going to clinch. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Another power shot for Lewis. This time we are looking up. An 18. So 5 points to Lewis, and Lewis gets his killer instinct. Lewis is 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, Lewis's first killer instinct. 72 is ring movement, so he's leading the action. To the left neutral corner. Next up, 47 is a clinch. Then, Lewis misses a punch. Liston can try to counterpunch. Which a 10 will be a power shot. If this is 5 points, Lewis's killer instinct is over. Against the 9, that's 4 points. So Liston picks up 4 points, but Lewis's killer instinct will continue. Because it needed to be at least a 5-point counterpunch to stop killer instinct. 68 is ring movement, so we are moving back to ring center. So both of them get against the rope, both of them get advantage, and then promptly lose it on killer instinct. And 14 is going to land a punch, so Lewis will land. 9 will be good for a 2-point jab, which will bring Lewis up to 11 points. And our last card of the round goes to Lewis, who would lose control, but there's the bell to end round 4. 11 points to Lewis, and I believe 6 to Liston. Killer instinct has not been kind to our fighters at all this bout. Let's see, 6, 57, 11 is 42. 5-point differential, we need to go to the judges on this one. The judges are scoring it. Dead even, wow. I guess they liked how Liston wouldn't, must have liked how Liston just didn't yield anything in that round. So, I'll get the decks reshuffled, and then we'll start round 5, where Liston will remain our aggressor. A very even fight here so far, as Liston and Lennox Lewis are beating the tar out of each other. No changes from round 4, and there's the bell to start round 5. So Liston will start us off as our aggressor with no control. Lewis will take control. 19 is going to land a punch. Lewis will get on the board first. 31 with a 2-point hook. 2 points for Lewis. Back to Lewis we go, who loses control. Liston. Special, okay. Let's see what happens here. Nothing special occurs. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. Lands a power shot, does Liston. Lewis is a 1 against a 9. That'll probably be 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Liston. Getting Lewis's attention with that one. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 55 is going to clinch. Back to Liston, stays in control. 12 is going to land another punch. Liston will land. 54 is good for a 2-point cross, which will bring Liston up to 6 points on the round. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 11's going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 68 will be good for a 3-point uppercut, which will pull Lewis up within 1 in the round on points so far. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 46 is going to clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 65 is going to be ring movement, so we're moving to the far corner. So now Liston gets a +1 on his control checks. We've had this happen during Killer Instinct, but never when it was going to be relevant. So Liston now needs a 10 or less to take control, which a 19 still won't do. Lewis takes control. 28 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 64 cut. So 64 is good for a 2-point combination. And then we need to make a cut check for Liston. So he's going to be 2 plus 78. That's an 80. Oh boy. That could be... So this is round 5. Liston cut. This is going to be a lot of damage, I'm sure. So we're going to say major cut over right eye. Yikes, this is bad for Liston. So he's -2 control factor, -4 defense, -4 punches landed, and 6 cut points. That's going to be big. All right, that was a big shot by Lewis to pick up a lot of cut points right there. So we're back to Lewis now, who loses control. Liston now needs an 8 or actually it'd be 10. He needs an 8 or less because he's got Lewis up against the ropes, which that will do with a 5. He is -4 punches landed, so we do need to be careful of that. But that's still enough to land a power shot. Lewis is 1 against a 5. I'm sure that'll be 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Liston. Which will bring Liston up to 10 points, even though he's bleeding like crazy. All right, back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 12 is going to land. Yeah, he's still going to land a punch from that. Liston will land. 18 is good for a 2-point jab, which will bring him up to 12 points. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 66 is going to be ring movement, so we're moving. Back to ring center, which means he's giving up his advantage. So now he needs a 7 or less to take control, which a 10 won't do. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 80 is ring movement, but that's the end of round 5. So that's 7 points for Lewis to 12 for Liston. 45, 12. There's actually 45 as well. And 35 for Liston. Okay, now we got to see how the judges scored at a 5-point differential. The judges are scoring it High, high, high. So they're giving it to Liston despite that nasty cut. Alright, I'm just doing my usual paperwork off camera. Then we'll get the decks reset, and when we come back to round 6, Liston will be our aggressor, but his cornerman needs to do something about that cut first. Before Liston starts us off in round 6 as our aggressor, we need to do something about that cut. So he's going to get a random number for this. We will find 54 is, he's average reduction, so we'll reduce the cut points by 1. Which means that's only 5 cut points. But still, that is a very nasty cut for Liston to have taken at this point of the bout. Otherwise, there are going to be no changes. Liston's going to be our aggressor. Lewis is boxing. Liston's slugging. There's the bell. Let's start round 6. So Liston will start us off with no control. Remember, Liston needs a 7 or less to take control. Lewis, no control. Liston takes control. 47 is a clinch. Back to Liston, who loses control. Remember, needs a 7 or less. That was Liston, by the way. Lewis takes control. Foul. He's a B against 31, which modifies to 36, and I believe still is enough to get waved off. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 57 is a clinch. Back to Lewis. Takes control. 24 is going to finally land a punch. Lewis will get on board. 23 with a 3-point hook. So I'll bring Lewis up to 3 points. Back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 33 is a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 18 is going to land a punch, and he will land. An 11, he'll land a 2-point jab, which will bring Lewis up to 5 points on the round. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes control. 20 is going to land a punch, and he will land. 8 is a 3-point jab, so that'll bring Liston on the board with 3 points. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 38 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. Foul. He's a B against a 14, which modifies to a 19, and that should get waved off. Yep, that'll get waved off. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. 10 is going to just miss a power shot, but he will land a punch, and he will land. 9 will be good for a 2-point jab, so that'll bring Lewis up to 7 points. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 67 is ring movement, so we're moving. to the near ropes. Which means now Liston needs an 8 or less to take control. Which that is not. Lewis takes control. 12 is going to land another punch. Lewis will land. A 7 is another 2-point jab, which will bring Lewis up to 9 points on the round. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 60 is going to be ring movement, so now Lewis is in control of ring movement, which means we're moving to the near rope. So we're just changing. We're still against the near ropes, but now we're changing who's in control. So Liston loses his advantage to not get control. Lewis would take control, but that's the end of round 6. 9 points for Lewis. 3 for Liston. 59, 48, 26. At a 6-point differential, we need to see how the judges score it. The judges are scoring it. High, high, high. So they're giving this one to Lewis. Lewis needed that round badly. I'll get the decks switched out once again, and then when we come back to round 7, Lewis will be our aggressor. Lewis is our aggressor, otherwise everything's staying the same. There's the bell to start round 7. Lewis will start us off with no control. Liston will take it. 21 is going to land a punch. Liston will get on the board. 31 with a 2-point hook. Back to Liston we go. Who loses control? Lewis. No control. Liston will take control. 23 is going to land a punch. Both of our fighters are very much tiptoeing right now because they've already got 1 foul against them. That lands so Liston lands a 2-point combination, bringing him up to 4 points. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis can't take control back. Liston, no control. Lewis no control. Liston no control. Lewis takes control. 27 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 24 is good for a 3-point hook. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 25 is going to land a punch. He will land. 52 is a 2-point cross. Which will bring him up to 6 points. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 46 is going to be a clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 17 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. A 12 is good for a 2-point jab, which will bring Lewis up to 5 points. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. Ring movement is with an 80, so we're moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. Lands a power shot. First one all around. Liston's a 1 against a 10. That sounds like 4 points. No, that's actually 5 points to Lewis. Either way, it's enough for Lewis to take the lead on the round. Back to Lewis we go. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. 36. Misses a punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. Lands a power shot of his own. Lewis is a 1 against a 7. I believe that's going to be 4 points. Yep, that's 4 points to Liston. So we've got a dead even round so far at 10, and we're heading into the final moments of it. Liston coming back with the next control check. He gets it. 10 is going to land another power shot. Lewis is 1 against a 19. Oh boy. Score 6 points. So on a 1 to 10, we need a KD. I believe we need another KD rating for this one. So either way, Liston's going to pick up another 6 points. 4, 5, 6. And now we need to get another KD rating. So on a 1 to 10, we score 6 points plus a knockdown and full killer instinct. He wants a 1 to 10 here because an 11 to 20 is going to add the KD 2 for the rest of the round. So the KD rating here is an 11, which isn't going to really matter all that much. Liston picked up his 6 points already. Last control check would be Liston's, who would take control, but that's the end of the round. So a very eventful round there. 10 points for Lewis, 16 for Liston. Let's see, so that's going to be 26 and 16. And with the knockdown and the highest points, Liston automatically wins the round 10-8. I'll get the decks reset, and then Liston will be our aggressor to start round 8. Except for the change to our aggressor, no other changes in the round. Lewis is going to continue to box. Liston's continuing to slug, and there's the bell. Liston will start round 8 off with control. 68 is going to be ring movement, so we are moving to the near ropes. Which means now Liston needs an 8 or less to take control. Because he gets the +1 from having his opponent against the ropes, which an 8 will do. $12 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 25 will be good for a 3-point hook. So Liston getting on the board first with 3 points. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis gets his first control check of the round, which he can't do anything with. Liston. No control. Lewis. Lewis takes control. 73 is ring movement, so we are moving to the left neutral corner. So now Lewis gets bonuses on his control checks. So back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 50 is going to be a clinch. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes control. 51 is going to be a clinch. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 47 is going to be a clinch. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 15 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. And 8 is good for a 3-point jab, which will bring him up to 6 points. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 33 is going to miss a punch, no counter punch. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 39 is going to miss a punch, no counter. Actually, no counter punch, just barely. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. 75 is ring movement, so we're moving back to ring center. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes control. Lands a power shot. Lewis is a 1 against a 20. That's probably going to be something bad. All right, that's a K 1 to 10. So Liston's going to pick up 6 points either way, which will bring him up to 12 points. Then we need another KD rating for that. So the KD here is a 14. So he's going to have... So Lewis is now going to be a KD rating of 2 for the rest of the round. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 18 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. A 63 is good for a 3-point combination. So Liston... This round has been all Liston so far. He's up to 15 points. Back to Liston we go, who stays in control. 57 is going to clinch. Back to Liston. Stays in control again. 20 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 26 will be good for a 3-point hook. Back to 18, up to 18 points for Liston, who is very much in control of this round. Back to Liston we go. No control. Lewis takes control. He needs to stop this carnage. 4 is going to be a power shot. Liston's a 1 against a 6. That'll probably be 4 points. Yep, 4 points to Lewis, who needed that badly. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. Injury. Oh boy. What's Lewis dealing with here? No injury, just a break in the action. Back to Lewis for the last control check. He would lose control, but that's the end of the round. 4 points for Lewis to 18 for Liston. Let's see, that would be 82. 8 and 12, and I believe at a 14-point differential, yep, Liston's going to take the round 10-9. Otherwise, no changes. When we come back to round 9, I will have a new battery in my camera, and Liston will be our aggressor. Heading into round 9, before we sound the bell, I do need to be aware of the possibility of a 3-round 60-point TKO, because over the last 2 rounds, that should be a 16. Over the last 2 rounds, Sonny Liston's actually picked up 34 points. So if he picks up another 26 this round, then the fight will be over on a 3-round 60-point TKO. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Speaking of Liston, he is our aggressor, so let's sound the bell to start round 9. Liston will start us off with control. 71 is ring movement, so we are going to be moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 11 is going to land a punch. He will get on the board with. 58 will be good for a 3-point combination. So that'll bring Lewis up to 3 points on the round. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 44 is going to be a missed punch. Liston can try to counter punch. Special won't do it. Back to Lewis we go, who loses control. Liston takes control. 12 is going to land a punch, and he will land. 30 will be good for a 2-point hook. So Liston on the board now with 2 points. Back to Liston we go, who loses control. Lewis can't take control. Liston, no control. Lewis, no control. Liston takes control. 17 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 1 point partially blocked. It's at least enough to tie the round at 3 apiece. Back to Liston, who stays in control. Lands a power shot. Lewis is a 1 against... Oh, we should have checked for carryover for Lewis. So, since we had a knockdown, where's the carryover table? Here it is. So, knockdown count of 1. We'll use this as that. 10 is no carryover. Actually, yeah, no carryover. All right, so now for the power shot. Lewis is a 1 against a 4. That should be 4 points to Liston, and it is. So I'll bring Liston up to 7 points as he gets Lewis's attention with that one. Back to Liston we go, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 8's going to land a power shot of his own. Liston's a 1 against a 9. That's probably 4 points. Yep, that's 4 points to Liston, or to Lewis. So Liston hits a power shot. Lewis answers in kind. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 32 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. Actually, who got the... Liston got the nasty cut, so Lewis will land. 20 is good for a 3-point hook, which will bring Lewis up to 10 points on the round. These two are trading haymakers in round 9. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Foul. Oh boy. Lewis is a B against a 13 plus 5 is 18. That will get waved off. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 35 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. Does not want to focus for me. 49 is a clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 34 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes it. .76 is ring movement, so we are moving to the near corner. Back to Liston we go, who's +1 on control checks now. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. Landing a power shot. Liston's a 1 against a 19. All right, so Lewis is going to pick up 6 points on that, and we need another KD rating, which will bring Lewis up to 16 points. Lewis wants this to be low as well, because he wants a shot at Killer Instinct. A 1, he's going to get it. So that's a knockdown and full Killer Instinct. Alright, so I'll note KD here, which means Lewis gets his full Killer Instinct of 9 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? First card up for Lewis is another power shot. So Liston's once again a 1 against a 5. That should be another 4 points, right? Yes. 4 points to Lewis, which brings Lewis up to 20. Next card up. 40 is a missed punch. Liston can try to counter punch, which a 20 will actually do. So Liston will pick up. 73 is good for a 3-point uppercut. But Lewis's Killer Instinct will continue because that wasn't a 5-point counterpunch. Liston needed that, though. Back to Lewis. Foul. I don't check those during Killer Instinct. Probably relieved that I don't. 64 is ring movement, so we are moving. Actually, we'd be back at ring center to start Killer Instinct, and we'd be staying there anyway. Last card of Killer Instinct is 59. That'll be a clinch, but that's the end of round. That's the end of round 9. So 20 points for Lewis to 10 for Liston. So no 3-round TKO, but we definitely need to keep an eye on it for Lewis. For Lewis. Right, and both fighters, I think, are now fatigued. Yep. They're both fatigued. At a 10-point differential, Lewis takes the round 10-9. When we come back, we'll have 2 fatigued fighters, but Lewis will be our aggressor. Before we start round 10, we're starting to get to the deepest part of the fight. We need to go through our fatigued fighters. So Lennox Lewis's card changes slightly. He now takes control on a 10 against a boxer, 9 against a slugger. Still aggressiveness of 8, only 7 killer instinct. Still fouls on a B, no other changes for him. As for Sonny Liston, his control factors both decreased by 1. I think Lewis is going to continue to box, and Liston is going to continue to slug. Okay, aggressiveness. Oh, wait, I'm comparing against the card here. No aggressiveness change there. Killer instinct is 8 for Liston. Otherwise, no change. So, no changes on strategy. Lewis is going to box. Liston's going to continue to slug. And there's the bell to start round 10. So Lewis will start us off with control, landing a power shot right away. Liston's still a 1 against a 20. Whoa. Lewis dropping a bomb right away, going for 6 points. Yep, he's going to score 6 points either way. So now we need another KD rating for Liston. A 3, which means Lewis is going to score a knockdown right away. And he's going to pick up his full killer instinct right away of 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, so Lewis will start us off with a foul, which I don't check during killer instinct. 62 is going to be ring movement, so we're moving to the near ropes. Next card up. 58 will be a clinch. Actually, yeah, still a clinch. Uh, 50 is going to be another clinch. I think the card, yep, okay. Next up is going to be another clinch. And Lewis, last card, 77 will be more ring movement, so we're moving right back to ring center. These fighters do not like keeping the advantage, do not like keeping a rope advantage when they come out of killer instinct. But back to Lewis we go. He will lose control. Liston now needs a 6 against Lewis, who's boxing, which that is decidedly not. Lewis, no control. Liston takes control. $20 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 47 is good for a 3-point cross, so Liston getting on the board with some needed points. Tying the round, actually no, pulling to within 3. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control back. 68 is ring movement, so we are moving right back to the near ropes. Back to Lewis. Loses control. Liston can't take it. Lewis takes control. 69 is ring movement, so we are moving right back to ring center. He does not like these rope advantages for whatever reason. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 70 is ring movement. Now Liston's in control of ring movement, so we're moving. We're actually staying put at ring center. Back to Lewis, or back to Liston. Stays in control. 57 is a clinch. Back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 33 is a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. Lands a punch. Lewis will land. 44 cut. 44 is a 2-point cross. Now, Liston had to add a bunch to his cut rating, if I remember correctly. No, he didn't, actually. Lewis has to add to his cut factor, but surprisingly, Liston didn't. But he's a 2 plus a 14, which will be a 16. I imagine that'll be no cut. Yep, 16 is no cut. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Foul. He's a B against. A 30 plus 5 is 35, which will probably get waived off. Yes, that will get waived off. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 38 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Staying with Lewis. Loses control. Liston can't take it. Lewis takes control. Lands a punch. Lewis will land. 26 will be good for a 2-point hook, which will bring Lewis up to 10 points. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston wouldn't take it, but that's the end of round 10. So 10 points for Lewis, 3 for Liston. 103. Both fighters are still very much fatigued. And on a 7-point differential, Lewis takes the round 10-9 on all cards. When we come back for round 11, Lewis will once again be our aggressor. No changes from round 10. Lewis is still going to box. Liston's still slugging. Lewis is our aggressor to start the round, and there's the bell. Let's start round 11. So Lewis will start us off with control. Special. This is interesting. Nothing special occurs. Never mind. All right, back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 80 is ring movement, so we are moving nowhere. We're staying at ring center. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, remember, needs a 6 to take control, which that is not. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. Foul. He's a B against. A 5 plus 5 is 10. That'll get waived off. I'm not going to bother to look at that. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 56 is a clinch. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes. No, he doesn't take it. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. Just barely, but he does. 46 is a clinch. Back to Lewis. And stays in control. 32 is going to miss a punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. 13 is going to land a punch. Lewis will get on the board at last with 51 cut. 51 is good for a 2-point cross. And then Liston is a 2+. 29 is 31. I'm pretty sure that's the top of no cut. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control back. 54 is a clinch. Back to Lewis, stays in control. 36, missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis, stays in control. 16 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 59, a 3-point combination. That'll bring Lewis up to 5 points on the round. Both of these fighters are very much out of gas right now. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 61 is ring movement, so we are moving to the near ropes. So Lewis is now +1 on control checks, which will be a 10 for him. That still won't work. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. Lands a power shot. Liston's a 1 against. A 1 that should be 4 points. Yep, that'll be 4 points to Lewis. That gets the fatigued Liston's attention. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 48 is going to clinch. Lewis gets the last control check of the round. He wouldn't take it, but that's the end of a one-sided round. That was all Lennox Lewis. 9-0. And I believe on a 9-point differential, Lewis takes the round 10-9 on all cards. I'll get the decks switched out, and then we'll be ready for round 12, where Lewis will once again be our aggressor. This looks like another fight that's getting ready to go the distance, folks. We're about to jump into round 12, and there's the bell. Lewis is once again our aggressor. He will start us off with no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 67 is ring movement. They should be back at ring center, by the way, pending the result of this card. Good thing I moved them back. They're at ring center. Back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston takes control. 38 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Liston, who stays in control. 30 is going to be a missed punch because, right, we had to add 4 to his, we had to subtract 4 from his punches landed, and now that he's fatigued, a 30 won't let him land a punch. So Liston comes back with control once again. 58 will be a clinch. Back to Liston, who actually stays in control. Oh no, he loses control. Lewis can't take it. Liston, no control. Lewis, no control. Liston, No control, Lewis. No control, Liston. No control, Lewis. No control, crowd's getting restless, Liston. No control, Lewis. No control, Liston. No control, Lewis. No control, Liston. Takes control finally. He will land a power shot, amazingly. So Lewis is a 1 against a 4. That should be 4 points to Liston, right? Yes. Liston will come back with no control. Lewis takes control. Lands a power shot of his own. Liston's a 1 against a 7. That'll probably be another 4 points. Yep. And they're trading bombs in the 12th round, but definitely have lost more than a few steps in this round. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. Landing another power shot, just barely though. Liston once again is a 1 against a 7. That should be another 4 points. Yep. Another 4 points to Lewis, which will bring him up to 8 points on the round. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 62 will be ring movement, so we are moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Lewis. Loses control. Liston takes it. 63 is ring movement, so we are moving to the far ropes. Which means now Liston needs a 7 to take control. Which he doesn't get there. Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 51 is a clinch. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston takes control. 18 is going to land a punch. Liston will land. 75 will be good for a 3-point uppercut. Coming back to Liston, who stays in control. 69 is ring movement. We'll be moving back to ring center, which we'd be moving to anyway, because that's the end of round 12. These two have been going toe-to-toe for the last hour or so. 8 to 7, 120, 102. Yep. All right, so by a 1-point differential, we have to see how the judges are scoring this one. They're scoring it high, high, high. So they're giving the round once again to Lewis. These two are definitely running out of gas, but I'm going to get the decks reset for round 13, and when we come back, Lewis will once again be our aggressor. Before we start round 13 with Lewis as our aggressor, I just noticed on my score sheet that I had 2 knockdowns for Lewis in both rounds 9 and 10, and he was the high scorer in both rounds. So he should have won both of those rounds 10-8. I've got that all straightened out. I've got to finish resetting the scores here. That's all set. So now Lewis is our aggressor for round 13, and there's the bell, and here we go. Lewis will start us off with control. 13 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 1 point partially blocked. Back over to Lewis, who loses control. Liston loses no control. Lewis, no control. Liston takes control. 17 lands a punch, and he will land. 20 cut. 20 is good for a 3-point hook. Lewis is the one who had to add to his cut rating. He had to add 1. So Lewis is actually going to be a 4 plus. 22 is 26. That is no cut. Back to Liston, who loses control. Back to Liston, actually, who loses control. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis, no control. Liston, no control. Lewis takes control. 26 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 43 is good for a 3-point cross, which will give Lewis the lead on points in the round, bringing him up to 4 points. Back to Lewis. Stays in control. 34 is a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 25 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 1 point partially blocked, which will bring Lewis up to 5 points. I'm surprised Liston can even block at this point. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. Special. Let's see what happens here. Fighter loses his mouthpiece. Ref pauses the action to rinse and reinsert it. Immediately add 5 to each fighter's endurance, so they're both back to their fresh columns. That won't last for long, I'm sure. Back to Lewis, who takes control back now that he's fresh again. 74 is ring movement, so we're moving to the right neutral corner. Back to Lewis, who takes control. Landing a power shot. Called that. Liston's a 1 against a 20. That'll take care of Liston's endurance real quick. 5 points to Lewis. And another KD rating. A 7 will give Lewis, I believe it gives him his... this will be a knockdown for Lewis and Killer Instinct. Alright, so Killer Instinct is now back to 9 cards for Lewis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so first up for Lewis is going to be another punch. Lewis will land. 64 cut. 64 is good for a 2-point combination. And then Liston is 2 plus 11 is 13, so that's going to be no cut. Back to Lewis for Killer Instinct, landing another power shot. Against an 18, that's probably another 5 points, right? Yes. That'll be another 5 points to Lewis for 17. But Killer Instinct, fortunately for Liston, does not stack in this game. Coming back to Lewis. Foul, which I don't check during Killer Instinct. Probably a good thing I don't for that Lewis is looking at right now. Technically, these two would be back to ring center. I always forget that during Killer Instinct because that will be ring movements, which will send us right over to the left neutral corner. Then for the first time all fight, Lewis is actually able to do something with his Killer Instinct. 35 will miss a punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis for the control check. Who loses control? Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. 32 lands a punch. Lewis will land. 33 is good for a two-point hook. But that's the end of round 13. So that is 19 points for Lewis to 3 for Liston. 2, and Liston's right back to being fatigued. And Lewis will automatically win the round 10-8 since he had a knockdown in round 13. Round 14 coming up next, and Lewis will be our aggressor once again to start round 14. Liston is right back to being fatigued, otherwise no changes in strategy or aggressor. And with that, there's the bell to start round 14. So Lewis will start us off with no control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 18 is going to land a punch, and he will land. 18 cut. 18 is good for a 3-point hook. And Liston is 2 plus 4, 6, so that'll be no cut. I'm not going to bother to look that one up. Back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. Just barely misses a power shot, but he will land a punch. Lewis will pick up. 9 will be good for a 2-point jab, so that'll bring Lewis up to 5 points. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 79 is ring movement, so we're moving. Nowhere, we're staying at ring center. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 33 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 15 is going to land a punch. He will land. 71 will be good for a 3-point uppercut, which will bring Lewis up to 8 points. Back to Lewis. Loses control. Liston. Can't take it. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. Foul. Lewis is a B against A 30 with 35, I'm pretty sure that gets waived off. Yep, that gets waived off. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 42, he's going to miss a punch. No counterpunch. Back to Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. Landing a power shot. A 1 against an 18. 18, 1, 5 points, and Lewis gets Killer Instinct. So 13 points, and Lewis gets his full Killer Instinct of 9 cards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, first up for Lewis is ring movement, so we're moving. Staying at ring center. Next up, more ring movement, we're moving to the far corner. Next up, more ring movement. We're probably moving right back to ring center. Nope, we're moving to the near ropes this time. I guess Lewis just wants to dance around the ring a little bit. 20 is going to land a punch. I was going to say this would be a prime opportunity for him to try to finish Liston off. 33 will be a 2-point hook, so we'll at least start in that direction. To bring Lewis up to 15 points on the round. Last card up. There's another punch, so Lewis will land. 22 will be a 3-point hook, so Lewis up to 18 points. I may have spoken too soon. All right, I just want to check to make sure we're not near any kind of 3-round TKO. No, we're not. Next card up is Lewis's control check. He'll stay in control. 59 is a clinch. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. That's the end of round 14. 18 points for Lewis. None for Liston. Lewis still has 2 endurance from that late round reprieve. Let's see, at an 18-point differential. We have to see how the judges score it. The scoring is going to be a little bit different with an 18-point differential. The judges are scoring it high, high, low. So what that means is on cards 1 and 2, Lewis will take the round 10-8. On the third card, on Judge 3's card, he'll win the round 10-9. Either way, it's still a win on the round for Lewis, and without getting spoilerific, he looks like to be cruising to the win here as we head into round 15, where I'll get everything set up, and then Lewis will be our aggressor to start the 15th and final round of this bout. Lewis could still win this bout via a 3-round TKO with 60 points. He needs to pick up 23 points in this round. But we've had some epic bouts in this Greatest Boxer tournament, and this one is no exception. With that, and no changes otherwise, Lewis is our aggressor. He's going to box while Liston continues to slug, and there's the bell, so let's start round 15. Lewis will start us off with control. 78 is ring movement, so we are moving to the near ropes, which means Lewis is now a +1 to take control. He gets the next control check, speaking of which. He won't take control, though. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. Takes control. .66 is ring movement, so we are moving To the right neutral corner. Lewis is actually trying to keep Liston in place. Lewis will maintain control. Foul. He's a B against. A 65 plus 5 is 70. Is that going to be enough for a point deduction? No, but it will be a warning for Lewis. Lewis is getting warned for following up a punch with an elbow. That's his first warning. All right, back to Lewis we go on the control check. He'll keep control. Landing a power shot. Liston's a 1 against. A 1, that'll be 4 points. Yep. That was predictable. All right, back to Lewis, who loses control. Liston needs to get something going. That won't help because that's no control. Lewis takes control back. 12 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 49 is a 2-point cross. So that'll bring Lewis up to 6 points on the round. Back to Lewis we go, who stays in control. 56 is going to be a clinch. Back to Lewis, who stays in control. 46 is a clinch. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 25 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 1 point partially blocked. So that's 7 points. 7 points for Lewis. Back to Lewis we go. He stays in control. Foul. He's a B against a 0, so he dodges a bullet there. Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis. No control. Liston. Takes control. 35 is going to be a missed punch, no counter punch. Back to Liston. Takes control, who stays in control, I should say. 5 is going to land a power shot of his own. Lewis is a 1 against a 5. That should be 4 points to Liston. Yep. Who needed to get on the board with something here. Because he has had nothing going on since about round... Liston's really had nothing going on since about round 10, I would say. But anyway, we're back to Liston, who loses control. Lewis takes control. 10 is going to just miss a power shot, but he will land a punch. 20 will be a 3-point hook, which will bring Lewis up to 10 points. Back to Lewis. No control. Liston. No control. Lewis takes control. 27 is going to land a punch. Lewis will land. 3 is good for a 3-point jab, which will bring Lewis up to 13 points. Back to Lewis with the next control check. Who loses control? Liston gets the last control check of the bout. A 7 would not let him take control, but that's the end of round 15. 13 points for Lewis to 4 for Liston. Lewis would go back to being fatigued, and Liston was fatigued pretty much from round 10 onward. Actually, they both got fatigued in round 10, but the reprieve in round 13 gave Lewis freshness toward the rest of the fight. All right, 13, a 9-point differential. Lewis will take the round 10-9 on all 3 cards. With that, we need to move over my shoulder so I can do final scoring. Looking at the final score sheet here, we're going to tally these up. So Liston won 5 rounds. Lennox Lewis won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there was 1 draw. So Judge 1 is scoring it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 145, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Judge 1 is scoring the fight 145 to 137 for Lewis. Judge 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 144, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 137, so judges 1 and 2 scoring it for Lewis is enough for Lennox Lewis to advance to the semifinals where Rocky Marciano is waiting for him, but we'll total up Judge 3 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 144, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 138, so Judge 3 is scoring at 144 to 138 for Lewis, which means it'll be Lewis over Liston via unanimous decision. So as we look at the current brackets for the tournament, Lennox Lewis has advanced and will now face Rocky Marciano in the semifinals, with Vitaly Klitschko and Rocky Balboa ready on the other side. So that will do it for this playthrough of the Greatest Boxer Tournament in Title Bout II for the quarterfinals. We're going to start the semifinals next month, but that won't be next week. Later this afternoon, we're going to have the end of October recap. Wednesday, we're starting New Game November with Terraforming Mars, the dice game from Stronghold Games. And next week, we're debuting Expeditions from Stonemaier Games. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.